So some of the insurrectionists are beginning to plead guilty in their criminal cases. And some people are expressing concerns about the plea offers that the prosecutors are extending to some of these defendants. Let's take a hard look at why the prosecutors are doing what they're doing. Because justice matters. Hey all, Glenn Kirshner here. So some of the insurrectionists, the defendants who are charged with criminal offenses for what they did at the U.S. Capitol on January 6th, are beginning to plead guilty. And predictably, it's raising some concerns. Here's how ABC News reported it out today. Federal prosecutors have begun informal plea negotiations with most of the self-described Oath Keepers militia members charged in a sweeping conspiracy case involving the January 6th insurrection, a prosecutor said during a hearing in the case Tuesday. Government attorneys have started to discuss the parameters of what plea offers for the accused Oath Keepers might look like, the prosecutor said, adding that while those discussions remain informal and preliminary at this time, the government hopes to offer former plea deals over the next month or two. And then today we heard of one of the insurrectionists, not an Oath Keeper, but one of the defendants charged with crimes as a result of his conduct at the Capitol on January 6th. One of them actually went into court and pleaded guilty. Here's the headline from NBC News today. Florida man pleads guilty in Capitol riot case. Paul Allard Hodgkins, 38, of Tampa, pleaded guilty to a single felony charge of obstructing an official proceeding. And this, perhaps predictably, set off, at a minimum, a Twitter storm. Here is but one example from one of our Twitter friends whose screen name is Truth. I like that. WTH is this. Paul Allard Hodgkins of Florida, a 1/6 insurrectionist, gets plea deal and he doesn't have to cooperate. He pleads guilty to one felony charge and they drop 4 others. He serves less than 2 years in prison and pays a small fine. What the heck? I'm going to go with that for the WTH question mark. So I'm going to try to answer the question, what the heck? So every defendant is different. Every defendant has a different criminal history. Every defendant has a different background, brings a different set of facts and circumstances to his or her case. Some defendants are members of a militia group. Some defendants are members of a white supremacist group. Other defendants are not. Some defendants have valuable information about the crimes of other insurrectionists, other defendants, and some defendants don't. Some defendants are flat out horrible people. You know, they're so unreliable. They're such long-term liars that even if they did have some information about the crimes of others, prosecutors would be hard-pressed to use them because they were chronically unreliable people. This is what I would call the 10-foot pole defendants, right? When you see a defendant with little round bruises all over him and you ask, hey, what's with the bruises? Well, it's because people will only touch him with the end of a 10-foot pole. Not the kind of guy prosecutors are going to make a cooperating witness and try to put on the stand and convince a jury to believe him. So every defendant is unique. And prosecutors have to approach each possible plea offer taking into account those unique circumstances, including what each defendant did on January 6th. And we'll talk more about that with respect to this this defendant, this insurrectionist, Mr. Hodgkins, in a moment. Some other issues. The system, quite frankly, the criminal justice system, is not set up to go to trial in 500, 600, 700 insurrection cases. It could if it had to, but it is not presently set up to handle that quantity of criminal trials. So it makes perfect sense for the prosecutors to plead out as many insurrectionists as they can, some with cooperation and some without. Now, this Paul Allard Hodgkins character was apparently not a part of an Oath Keeper group or a white supremacist group. When you read up on him, it seems like, he came up on a bus maybe as a bit of a loner. It doesn't seem like he assaulted anybody, but he did enter the Capitol unlawfully. But here's the thing. He wasn't made to plead guilty to trespass or, entering a federal building without authority or damaging government property. He pleaded guilty to the felony charge of obstructing an official government proceeding. And he will spend time in prison as a result of that guilty plea. That guilty plea, even if without cooperation, is a building block in a sedition case. It is a building block in an insurrection case. And I'll talk in future videos about how prosecutors can use that guilty plea as a building block when they are building an insurrection case or a seditious conspiracy case. Because he was basically made to plead guilty to something that in substance involved him trying to stop the certification of the election results. And who is it that told the insurrectionists to stop what was going on in the Capitol that day? Here's the other thing I'll say about all of this. These prosecutors handling these insurrection cases at the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia. I trust them. I know them. I worked with some of them for decades. Some of them were homicide prosecutors when I was chief of the homicide section. Some of them I tried their first murder case with. Makes me feel very old. I trust them to make the right decision in each and every case. And these are not easy decisions. And if I see one that seems completely out of bounds, inexplicable, I will call it out. But we don't know what the prosecutors know behind the scenes when they're making these difficult decisions about what plea offers to extend to what defendants. But I trust them, and I trust this Department of Justice. And I sure hope they don't prove me wrong. I don't think they will. But buckle up, folks, because the ride on the road to justice is going to be very bumpy and very long, but we're heading in the right direction. Try not to be so concerned with the day-to-day pleas that you see announced or reported that seem insufficient. Seems like the prosecutors could be doing something better, could be doing something more. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. I knew when I worked there, and I tried to make the best decisions about each and every case and each and every defendant when I was a federal prosecutor at the Department of Justice, at the D.C. U.S. Attorney's Office, and that's what these prosecutors are doing right now on behalf of the American people. I know it, and I trust them. As always, folks, please stay safe. Please stay tuned. And I look forward to talking with you all again tomorrow.